ká lọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ fún jẹ́sọ̀. ẹgbẹ́ tí bóyá wà yìí sí à ń táwọn èèyàn rí wọn rí wọn lè rí nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ dáadáa. má yọ àti bá ti yọ máa disconnect o ti get busy wàá fà ara lift gbogbo ẹ̀ báyìí a máa gbé lọ sókè. pé kò tí event ò tí bẹ̀rẹ̀.
ṣáà ní láti charge ilé.
àwọn ẹ̀ fi charge lọ. sá. gbogbo láti ẹ máa plug ilé ẹ máa ní láti plug
education in Nigeria, second in Africa, and 8th in the whole world.
79.
The lecture will be
normal
delivered
but
today
to 3 hours.
by Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti on the topic rebranding the kinetic discourse, the desire, the demand, and the determination. Once again, you're all welcome.
Sense no go kill us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please note that once the Vice Chancellor and members of the management team arrive, we are all expected to stand on our feet and remain standing until we arrive at the table.
They look too nice in the background.
We want to take this opportunity to welcome invited guests who are here to honor the distinguished lecturer for today. We hereby welcome members of the Senate of the University, deans and the provost of colleges, heads of departments, directors of centers, deputy registrars, and deputy bosses. You are all welcome. We also welcome to this great occasion the Olanrewaju Àjọwá Àkókò Royal Majesty Ọba Adéyẹmí Ipinmoroti. You are welcome, sir. Kábíyèsí sá, Adépẹ́ lórí ìsàgbà pẹ́lẹ́sẹ̀ o. Ẹ̀sìn ọba àjọ gbogbo ẹ̀ o. Mo kí olórí náà ẹ káàbọ̀ ẹ̀jẹ̀ kó oríire náà bá wa kalẹ̀ o. Ẹ ṣe ẹ káàbọ̀. Also want to welcome Mr. Adéwùsì Olúwafẹ́mi Ipinmoroti Mr. Williamisi Oloyede. Please let's welcome them with a round of applause, please. Mr. and Mrs. Ayodeji O.T. You're welcome. Mrs. Afolayan, we welcome you. Dr. Adebolu Adekoya, you're welcome. Mrs. Oladele Blessing, we welcome you to our university. Mrs. Fagbero E.A., you're welcome, madam. Mrs. Odediran D.O., Mr. Ola Ezekiel, Mr. Ipinmoroti James, I want to guess we are not tired of clapping and honoring our guests. We also want to recognize the presence of Mr. Bangboye Ojo, Mr. Adetono Mojisola. We also want to recognize Mr. Oladejo Kehinde. We recognize the presence of Mr. Lawode Moses and Miss Sunday Opeyemi. As we are awaiting the commencement of this ceremony, which will commence any minutes, some few minutes from now, because here in Tasweg, we are known for keeping to time. We do our things promptly and on time. So the ceremony is slated to commence at 2. But before then, we want to recognize the presence of some other guests who have already arrived. We recognize the presence of Mr. Akinyode Tomiwa. You are welcome, sir. Pastor Ade Kuoroye. You are welcome, sir. Mr. Adegoke Fikayo. We recognize your presence. We also want to recognize the presence of Professor B.B.A. Taiwo of OOU, Dr. Tom Adetunde. We also recognize the presence of Dr. Agbola T.O. We also want to recognize also here in our is Dr. Mrs. Ibitunde. You are highly welcome. Mrs. Adegoke Yemisi, we recognize your presence. You are highly welcome.
máa yọ. Iṣẹ́ ilé ayé yìí kò máa gbẹ́kún rárá o. Kò sẹ́ni tó máa rẹ́rìn tí ò ní kọ́kọ́ sunkún o. Wọ́n kú ò lẹ́ràn o, ìrònú ò dá nǹkan. Ẹ máa jó, ẹ máa yọ. Ẹ máa jó, ẹ máa yọ. Ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ Ọlọ́run ti gbà yọ. Ayé wa ẹ máa yọ. Ìgbàgbá ẹ lọ́wọ́ o, ogun sì máa gbà ẹ́. Ìgbàgbá ẹ lọ́wọ́, ogun sì máa gbà ẹ́. Ilé ayé ọ̀gbà fún ẹ, ogun sì máa gbà ọ́. Ilé ayé yóò gbà lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí, ogun sì máa gbà ẹ́. Ọlọ́run bá lè rí rẹ̀ wò, àdúgbò gbà ó kílẹ̀ rí. Ẹ máa jó, ẹ máa yọ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀. Ẹ máa jó, ẹ máa yọ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀. Ọlọ́run ti gbà yọ. Ayé wa ẹ máa yọ. Ọ̀tá mi máa yọ̀ mí bí mo bá ṣubú máa dìde o. Èmi bí máa yọ̀ mí bí mo bá ṣubú máa dìde o. Ìṣubú ẹ̀dá níṣòkùn ìrìnàjò. Ìṣubú ẹ̀dá níṣòkùn ayé mi o. Ògùn ní sọ̀nìdà lágbára ẹ máa yọ̀ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ máa lọ. Ẹ máa yọ̀, ẹ máa yọ̀, ẹ máa jó, ẹ máa yọ̀ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀. Ọlọ́run ti gbà yọ̀. Ayé wa ẹ máa yọ̀. Bóyá tó ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ yìí, lọ́wọ́ yìí, lọ́wọ́ yìí, ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ yìí. Àṣeyọ òun lọ lọ́run. Ọlọ́run ò ṣe bá nínú, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kò sí dájà. Èyí tó fi ń ronú. Ó yára wẹ̀bẹ̀ sí, ó máa bẹ bàbá tó wí pé. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Jẹ́ kó bọ́ sí fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Jẹ́ kó ṣe ṣe fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Jẹ́ kó bọ́ sí fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Jẹ́ kó ṣe ṣe fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Kò dáa kí lọ́rùn wọ̀, kò dáa kí lọ́rùn wọ̀, kò dáa kí lọ́rùn wọ̀, kò dáa kí lọ́rùn wọ̀. Ó máa ń bọ̀ ọkàn lẹ́yìn, ó máa ń mú ọkàn ṣáájú lọ́ní, ó tún máa ń mú ọkàn rẹ̀wẹ̀sì ní. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, Olúwa. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Jẹ́ kó bọ́ sí fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Jẹ́ kó ṣe ṣe fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Bóyá máa wí pé mo mọ̀ kó lè ṣe tèmi. Mo mọ̀ kó lè ṣe tèmi. Àṣeyọ òun lọ lọ́run. Àdùnkùn bá mi ṣe, mo sóhun tó lè fún wa ní. Mo mọ̀ kó lè ṣe tèmi o. Kábíyèsí, mo mọ̀ kó lè ṣe tèmi. Torí pé ó gbẹ́ ná owó sàn, ó ní òkú ní dèdèdèdè ń máa ń wá, dèdèdèdè ń máa ń wá. Mo mọ̀ kó lè ṣe tèmi. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀, fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Jẹ́ kó bọ́ sí fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Jẹ́ kó ṣe ṣe fún mi o, Ọlọ́run. Fìmí lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Ó yá má dà mí dàdúró. Ọ̀pọ̀ Ọlọ́run wípé sẹ́, má dà mí dáṣòro mi o. Ṣe ni kó ràn mí lọ́wọ́ o. Ọlọ́run má dà mí dáṣòro. Má dà mí dáṣòro mi o. má fi rònú pa ara rẹ owó tó dé. Má fi rònú pa ara rẹ ọlá yẹn tó dé sẹ́. Má fi rònú pa ara rẹ kókó ẹ tó kù yọ. Ìrònú ò dà kan ó bá kan jẹ́ ní ṣogbọ́n. Ó dára ká máa múnú ara wa dùn nígbà gbogbo. Àbí ó dára ká máa múnú ara wa dùn nígbà gbogbo. Káyé kóra wa sínú ìrònú tí yóò dá nǹkan lórí òun náà lé. Abá a ò bá ohun ọ̀nà mu ni. Òun náà lé. Abá a ò bá ohun ọ̀nà mu ni. Ìrònú ò dá nǹkan ó fa protection ni. Ìrònú ò dá nǹkan ó fa depression ni ṣùgbọ́n má fi rònú pa ara rẹ owó tó dé. Má fi rònú pa ara rẹ ọlá tó dé. Jọ má fi rònú pa ara rẹ ọpẹ́ tó kù yọ. Ìrònú ò dá nǹkan ó fa protection. Ibi tó lọ mú ẹ lọ, ibi gíga ni. Àbẹ́ẹ̀kọ́. Ibi tó lọ mú ẹ lọ, ibi gíga ni.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we await the arrival of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olanrewaju, and members of the management team, please let's quickly recognize the following few people. Mr. Abraham Ewewura, Mr. M.O. Adetonu, Mr. S.A. Ogungbemi, Mr. James Downsey, and we also recognize the presence of Pastor Timothy O. Oyedele. Ladies and gentlemen, please get ready. The procession will soon commence in a few minutes from now.
set anthem. Ìṣẹ́yá, ìṣẹ́yá, ọmọ ogun. Ìṣẹ́yá, Elédùmarè, ìṣẹ́ máa yá o. Ìṣẹ́yá, ọmọ ogun. Ìṣẹ́ kọ̀ fún wa láti ṣe. Ọmọ rere kì í ṣàṣẹ, ọmọ ogun kì í ṣọ̀lẹ. Ẹgbẹ̀rẹ̀ mẹ́lù wo Ọlọ́run bẹ fún wa, ẹ tẹra mọ́ṣẹ́ o. Ìṣẹ́yá, ọmọ ogun, ìṣẹ́yá.
Please be seated.
Good afternoon, all members of Senate, staff and students of this great university, our invited guests, my lords spiritual and temporal, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to the 7th inaugural lecture of Tertiary University of Education in Jagun, to be delivered by Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti. By the power conferred on me, I declare this ceremony open. Please, the technical group, can you roll out the profile of Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti while he stands? Thank you.
Is a profile of Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti. Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti was born on 4th May 1959 to the family of Panua Olagoke and Elizabeth Bosede Ipinmoroti in Ulu-Ajowa, Akoko, Ondo State. He is the second of 7 children in the family. He had his primary education at local authority primary school at Ajowa, Akoko, from 1966 to 1971, before proceeding to Ajowa Community Secondary Modern School from 1972 to 1974. Thereafter, he went to African Church Teachers College, where he obtained his Teachers Grade 2 certificate in 1981. His passion for higher learning took him to the prestigious University of This is a profile of Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti. Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti was born on 4th May 1959 to the family of Panua Olagoke and Elizabeth Bosede Ipinmoroti in Ulu-Ajowa, Akoko, Ondo State. He is the second of 7 children in the family. He had his primary education at local authority primary school at Ajowa, Akoko, from 1966 to 1971, before proceeding to Ajowa Community Secondary Modern School from 1972 to 1974. Thereafter, he went to African Church Teachers College, where he obtained his Teachers Grade 2 certificate in 1981. His passion for higher learning took him to the prestigious University of Benin, where he had his first degree, BEd, in Physical and Health Education in 1987. He later had his master's degree in sociology and psychology of sport in 1994 and PhD in sport and exercise psychology from Nigeria's premier university, the University of Ibadan, in 1998. Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti's quest for knowledge further led him to seek professional certifications. He acquired a certificate in data processing from Federal University of Technology, Akure, in 2012. He later followed this up with a certificate in management of Olympic sport organizations in 2018, certificate in biofeedback techniques in 2019, and most recently a diploma in management of Olympic sport organization in 2021. The young and dynamic Larry started his career as a teacher in 1981 when he taught at St. Paul's Anglican School 2, Arigidi Akoko, and later at AUD School 2 in Ikare Akoko from 1981 to 1983. He had his mandatory National Youth Service Program NYSC in Oyo State at the prestigious International School University of Ibadan, ISI. He later went on to work in the same school from 1991 to 1997. He left the international school in 1997 to join the Federal College of Education of Shele, Abeokuta. He was in FCE Abeokuta till March 2006, and his sojourn there saw him progressing from lecturer 2 in 1997 to principal lecturer in 2005. While in the institution, he was head of Department Physical and Health Education 2002 to 2006, among many other positions of responsibilities he held. Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti later joined the services of Taisholari University of Education in Jagogon State on 1st April 2006 as a senior lecturer. His promotions were well deserved and rapid as he rose to the rank of the full professor exactly 6 years after joining the university. Here in the services of the Premier and Preferred University of Education, TASUT, Professor Ipinmoroti has served in many committees of the university in varying capacities, some of which include Chairman, Committee on Resolution of Complaints about Non-Performance of HMO Handling ASU NHIS Scheme in 2018. Member COSMAS AMP Committee COSIT Representative 2018 till date. Chairman Research, Staff Development and Training, October 2016 till date. Chairman Examination and Practice Committee, January 2014 till October 2016. Chairman Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Verification of Students who did not pay tuition fees but wrote examination in 2016. Chairman Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Verification of Results of Geography and Environmental Studies from 2009 to 2014/2015. Member University Senate 2011 to date. He was acting head Department of Human Kinetics and Health Education in the university between 2011 and 2013. Professor Ipinmoroti is an active member of various professional bodies and has had the privilege of serving in various capacities and positions of leadership in some of these organizations. Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti is a recipient of many distinguished academic and non-academic awards and commendations. He adds to his credit for the 5 articles published in reputable journals both within and outside the country. He has attended and presented papers and conferences, workshops, and seminars in Nigeria, Africa, and other parts of the world. He has proven himself to be a man of integrity, a lover of God and humanity, a compassionate but disciplined lecturer. He is an accomplished but humble researcher. He is a serious teacher who makes learning easy and interesting. As a leader, he is firm but yet peace-loving. Outside of his academic career, he has found relevance in serving in various leadership capacities in Christendom. He was for over a decade the superintendent of Children's Church of the Chapel of the Resurrection, University of Ibadan. He is committed member of Scripture Union Nigeria. When he's not busy in all of these capacities, he takes off time unwind by playing various games such as volleyball, handball, badminton, among others. He also loves singing and gardening. Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti is married to Professor Mabel Omowumi Ipinmoroti, and the union is blessed with many children, both biological, adopted, and spiritual. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium the 7th inaugural lecture presenter and Solari University of Education Ijagun, Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. May I now invite Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti to deliver the 7th inaugural lecture of Solari University of Education in Ijagun. Thank you very much.
The Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor O.S. Banjo, the Acting Registrar, Mr. Babatunde Oduwale, the University Librarian, Mrs. Faustina Oyeshiku, the Acting Registrar, Mr. Olubimi Abdullahi, Provost of Postgraduate College, Dean of Courses and Deans of other colleges, Dean of Student Affairs, Directors of Programs, Heads of Departments, Sub-units, fellow professors, other distinguished members of Senate, all academic and non-academic colleagues, members of the host community, my Lord spiritual and temporal, Your Royal Majesties, distinguished colleagues and friends from sister universities and other institutions of higher learning, very distinguished colleagues, distinguished guests, gentlemen and ladies of the press, great and greater and the greatest that society. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to quote a verse of the scripture that means so much to me. What makes you better than anyone else? What do you have that God hasn't given you? And if all you have is from God, why boast as though you have accomplished something on your own? 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. It is in light of the above that I came to the conclusion that by His grace, I am what I am. A few decades ago, I was enrolled at local authority primary school at Joapogo to start my education. Little did I know what lay ahead, but I was excited. I was in school like other boys and girls. At the beginning of the third term in my primary one, some of my mates were asked to bring notebooks and pencils. Myself and a few of my classmates were still using slates and chalk. It then dawned on me that I was not catching up with the rest of my classmates. At the end of the session, I was promoted to primary 2 on trial. My primary 2 teacher made life miserable for us by putting some of us in a special role in the class and consistently referred to us as Olodo. At the end of the session, as expected, I was promoted to primary 3 on trial. Things began to turn around when I was in primary 3, even though I didn't notice it. At the end of that session, I came 6th in the promotion exam to primary 4. And when I brought my card home, my father, Noah Ipinmoroti, collected it, read through, and never uttered a word. Later he went out, and when he arrived, he brought a big chunk of bushmeat, grasshopper. That really sparked off the fire in me, and from then on, I became one of those everyone wants to beat in my class. All through that period of trial, my dad never reprimanded me. And with the benefits of hindsight, I guess he knew what I was passing through, and he gave me all the support I needed till what he expected manifested. It is worthy of note to state also that my elder brother, His Royal Majesty Oba Timothy Adeyemi Ipinmoroti, Omoran II, was my home lesson teacher. He did his best to really help me during those difficult periods. Though we quarrel often, typical of boys, he never taunted me with my shaky educational start. On completion of my primary education, during the holidays, one day, we went for early morning prayer just before Christmas, and my mother took me to a prophetess after the service for a special prayer. The prophetess then advised that I should not be allowed to further my education, because if I did, it will be a waste of time and money because I will not succeed. On our way back home, there was a graveyard silence. And shortly before we got home, I just told my mom, I said, Mom, I want to further my education. She kept quiet. The events that took place after that showed that my mom never discussed that matter with anybody. And that was how I was able to really proceed. I took time to highlight these things to show the roles God used this trial, my dad, my mom, and my elder brother to play in making today's event a reality. If they did not release themselves for God to use, I probably would have dropped out of school, and there wouldn't have been this inaugural lecture. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to trace my journey so far in the world of academics. I started my career as a lecturer in 1997 when I was employed as lecturer 2 at Federal College of Education on Shell Abeokuta, where I rose from the position to the position of a principal lecturer. From there, I moved on to Titular University of Education as one of the pioneer staff as a senior lecturer. I moved through the ranks to the position of a full professor on 1st October 2012. I want to appreciate the University Council, the University Management, and Professor Abayomi Arigbabo, the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology in Ogun State, who was the Dean of College of Science and Information Technology, for their roles in the whole process. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my inaugural lecture is the third from the College of Science and Information Technology, COSIT, without any controversy, the leading college in the university. It is the second from the Department of Human Kinetics and Health Education, and the first from Sports and Exercise Unit. The figure 7 is very unique because it is seen as a symbol of perfection. The Almighty God created the whole universe in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. It is not a coincidence that I'm standing before you today to present the 7th inaugural lecture of this citadel of learning on the 7th month of the year. Just as God rested after creating the whole world on the 7th day, I believe that after this 7th inaugural lecture, I will also rest. I will be discharged. The title of my inaugural lecture is Rebranding the Kinetics Discourse, the Desire, the Demands, the Determination. In this lecture, I intend to bring to the fore the inevitability of movement to human existence. Whether white, black or brown, male or female, young or old, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, healthy or unhealthy, we all move, not because we want to, but because we have to. Logical as this may be, it is also fraught with controversies. The need to engage in movement activity has been an age-long discourse, and various people from various walks of life have examined why, when, and how movements should or must take place. Efforts will be made to touch on some of these prominent propositions about human movements, and the position of sports and exercise psychologists will be presented. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the lecture will be presented under the following subheading: Introduction, Physical Inactivity and Modern Day Living, Effect of Physical Inactivity, Benefit of Participating in Physical Exercise, challenge of exercise adherence, exercise psychologist approach, my research focus and contribution to knowledge, conclusion and recommendation. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is a statement of fact that movement is the singular most important aspect of every living being. When talking of human movement, two terms readily comes to mind, and these are physical activity and exercise. Many scholars have endeavored to describe or define physical activity and exercise. Physical activity has been expressed as any bodily movement that results in expenditure of energy. On the other hand, physical exercise has been described or defined as a subset of physical activity that is purposeful, planned, and performed with the intention of acquiring fitness and other health benefits. Physical inactivity and modern day living. Over the past 50 years, there has been a huge shift from a lifestyle that was physically active to the one that is predominantly sedentary. WHO 2004. WHO also reported that approximately 3.2 million deaths each year are attributed to insufficient physical activity. And it is really puzzling that more attention is given to less fatal public health issues than physical inactivity that kills in thousands and in millions. Effect of physical inactivity, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. Physical inactivity has been found to be one of the causes of mortality, including coronary heart diseases, type 2 diabetes, breast and colon cancer. Lee, Shiroma, Lobello, Oscar, Blair, Kasamask, et al. 2012 reported that overall physical inactivity caused more than 5.3 million out of the 57 million deaths that occurred worldwide in 2008. In Nigeria, non-communicable diseases already account for at least 1/4 and 1/3 of all deaths in male and female respectively. WHO 2011. Inactivity has been found to be one of the 10 leading factors of global mortality. It is instructive to note that WHO has set a target of reducing physical inactivity by 10% by year 2025, and it stands for good reasoning that Nigeria should key into this goal. I will have to skip something. How much exercise do I need? I want to plead with us that we'll read that one after this one. Metabolic equivalence, I also plead with us that we'll read that one after this now. We'll move on to benefits of engaging in physical exercise. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, a lot of benefits have been attributed to participating in physical exercise. Among these are health benefits. Engaging in regular physical activities can prevent heart disease and stroke, obesity, diabetes, back pain, and osteoporosis. The details are there in the booklet that you have in your hands. They also have social benefits of participating in physical activity. And these ones include higher self-esteem, better social skill, higher confidence, higher competence, and making new friends. Then we have psychological benefits of engaging in physical activities. Because of time, I will just go to the summary. Engaging in physical activities will increase the following: academic performance, assertiveness, confidence, emotional stability, intellectual functioning, external locus of control, memory perfection, positive body image, self-control, sexual satisfaction, well-being, and work efficiency. At the same time, it will reduce the following: absenteeism at work, alcohol abuse, anger, anxiety, confusion, depression, headache, hostility, phobias, psychotic behavior, tension, and work errors. Reasons for not exercising. It is amazing, or perhaps confounding, that despite the fact that most people know the value of engaging in regular physical activities, many people still choose not to exercise. The reasons most non-exercisers give for not participating in physical exercise are diverse. These can be categorized into three. We have major barriers, moderate barriers, and minor barriers. Among the major barriers are lack of time. A Yoruba adage actually describes this attitude as ohun tó wuni ní kọ̀lọ́lá ẹni ológun ẹrú kú aṣọ rẹ̀ ò pé méjì. Literally, it means one always gives priority to what is important to one. However, do we explain why someone who owns 20 slaves died and could not boast of possessing 2 sets of outfit in his wardrobe? Another major reason is lack of energy, lack of motivation to sustain physical activity for a long time. Other causes are illness or injury, lack of facility nearby, feeling uncomfortable, lack of skill, and fear of injury. There are quite a number of reasons why people don't exercise. Now we want to look at the next section, which is challenges of exercise adherence, which is the demands. The desire of everyone or most people is to participate in exercise. But there are some demands of participating in exercise. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, when sedentary people have overcome inertia and started exercising, the next barrier they face is how to continue their exercising program. Research has shown that about 50% of participants drop out of exercise program within the first 6 months of engaging in such activity. It is obvious that traditional exercise precision does not promote self-responsibility or empower people to make long-term behavioral change. And this will lead us to the core, and all those excuses given by people are just peripheral. The core of why people don't really believe or don't participate in exercise have been propounded by some theorists, and I'll just review a few of them. The first one here has to do with health belief model. The summary of this model is that the likelihood of an individual engaging in preventive health, that is exercise, depends on the person's perception of the severity of the potential illness, as well as his appraisal of the cost and benefits of taking action. The proponent further stated that if an individual believes that the potential illness is serious and that he or she is at risk and that the pros of taking action outweighs the cons, he or she will likely adopt the target health behavior, which in our case here is engaging in physical exercise. Then the next one is theory of planned behavior. Not satisfied with the proposition of the health belief model, Absent 1988 posits that the best prediction of behavior is given by asking people if they were intending to behave in a certain way. The theory postulates that attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control predict the intention, which in turn predicts behavior. Social continuity theory was propounded by Banduras in 1986, and the summary of this thing is the development of self-efficacy. The level to which one is convinced that he is capable of doing something will determine whether he or she will take action as far as that matter is concerned. In our own case, physical activity. Then the next one is trans-theoretical model. This is an integrative theory that assesses an individual's readiness to act in a new healthier behavior and provides strategies or process of change to guide the intellectual. The TTM is hinged on certain assumptions about the nature of behavioral change and the population health intervention that can best facilitate it. This one is, I'll just look at the various stages of this change as summarized by these theories. There are 6 stages of behavioral change as far as exercise is concerned. The first one is pre-contemplation stage. In this stage, the individual is not ready to exercise at all, at least in the next 6 months. It doesn't have that plan. The second is contemplation stage. The individual is ready and willing to change in the next 6 months as a result of information received. Then the next one is preparation stage. The individual is ready to take action in the next 1 month. Then the action stage, that person has not only taken action but has consistently engaged in exercise for at least 6 months. And then we have maintenance stage. This one has to do with adherence. The individual is not only participating in exercise, but is able to persist for between 6 months and 5 years. Then we'll know that that person has stabilized as far as exercise is concerned. And then the sixth, which is very dangerous, is the relapse rate. As a result of pressure from the society or from friends and family, individual attempts might not be able to withstand all the demands of physical exercise, and that person might want to withdraw from exercising, and that will take the person back to pre-contemplation stage, which is stage 1, and that is very, very dangerous. And that one leads us to the last theory that I'm going to review, which is self-determination theory. This one was propounded by Jesse and Ryan in 1985. According to them, human beings are inherently oriented towards actualizing their potentialities through processes such as intrinsic motivation, social internalization and integration, and connecting with others. Although these processes do not occur under all conditions, they can be supported by the social environment. These social conditions are those that fulfill people's basic psychological needs, and these needs are not defined as simply preferences, but rather they are required for psychological growth and well-being. Within this SDT, the nourishment of healthy development and functioning are specified using the concept of basic psychological needs of autonomy, which is directing one's own behavior, competence, feeling effective in one's continuous interaction with social environment and decision making, and relatedness, feeling connected and cared for by others. Well, you will read the remaining things over there. Now I want to look at what self-determination theories propose as a continuum of motivation. We have on the lowest motivation. That means that person is not oriented towards taking part in physical activity at all. Then we have external regulation, introjection, identification, and integration, moving from external to internal motivation in that order. But all of them are still regulated from outside. And then the extreme condition, which is the highest level of motivation, is the intrinsic motivation. That's the motivation that comes from within. This person is taking part not because somebody wants him to take part or because of what he or she wants to benefit. It's just taking part because of the pleasure he or she derives from it. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, arising from this theory, a question that comes to mind is how they translate to positive engagement in regular physical exercise. It is an established fact that children find it easier to learn motor skills than adults. It goes without saying then that anything done to expose these children to learning of physical exercises early will be a step in the right direction. It is in line with this that I want to take a look at 2 institutions that have vital roles to play in the learning of children in general and motor skills in particular. These are the home and school. For lack of space and lack of time, I will just narrow it down to parental roles and the role of physical and health education teachers. The role of parents in motivating children to be involved in physical exercise. There are many parenting styles enunciated in literature, but the consensus is that authoritative parenting style is the most popular. Authoritative parenting is characterized by parental control. This refers to parental supervision and maturity demands. Many parents do not allow their children to engage in physical activities because of the fear they have about the sports environment. They often believe that sporting activities involve lots of risks, and such will not want their children to participate, even when such children show keen interest. Other parents see the success or failure of their children in sporting activity as their own success or failure. And as a result, they literally take charge of the child's involvement and can become overbearing most of the time. Such actions do not encourage sustenance of the child's interest in sports because the child will see himself or herself as participating just to please the parents. According to Bonduska, there are 3 dimensions of parenting. One is involvement. This has to do with how a parent becomes a vital and benevolent figure in a child's life. With regards to physical exercise, this parent is physically present when the child is exercising or playing the game. The parent makes available the sporting equipment or material, takes the child to the place where he or she can learn to play the game, and goes back to pick the child after training, or makes alternative arrangements if the nature of his work will not allow him to go back. He's also interested in the progress of the child as he or she learns the motor skill and shares in the success of the child. The second parental type is structure. This involves setting up a child's environment for competence to blossom. Parents are expected to provide good environment, that is structure, that will motivate the child to be physically active. Boundaries are set to ensure that the academic performance of the child is not adversely affected as a result of his or her involvement in sports or physical exercise. And the parents create time to monitor that the child does not go beyond the boundary set. This approach is better than outrightly denying the child access to participation in physical exercise or sport, because we want the child to do well academically. And then the third one is autonomy support. This involves empowering the child to author his or her actions and to own the outcomes. Such parents allow choices, they respect the child's interests, they encourage self-advocacy, they support volitional activities, they give reasons for expectations, and they take the child's viewpoint into consideration. Involvement and structured dimensions are interactive with autonomy support. While involvement and structured dimension describes what parents do, autonomy support dimension describes how to do it. The role of physical education teachers in motivating children to be involved in physical activity. Physical education teachers' behavioral practices and motivational style have a substantial impact on students' feelings about engaging in learning and can influence the child's adoption of physically active life as adults. As a result, PE teachers are expected to explore effective teaching strategies to meaningfully engage and motivate the students. Prof 2006 suggested how teachers can provide structure that will encourage students to get involved in PE activities through the following: clearly communicating expectation and direction, leading instructional activities when appropriate, providing strong guidance, giving precise instruction when needed, scheduling students' activities, marking the boundaries of activity and managing the transition between them, offering task-focused feedback, and providing consistency in the lesson. PE teachers are expected to use those in preparing their lessons, in actually presenting the lesson, and also post-lesson activity, which is feedback. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to briefly outline my contribution. In an attempt to combat physical inactivity, sedentary lifestyle, as well as reducing impact of non-communicable diseases, emphasis have often been placed on engaging in physical activity for fitness and physical health. This is laudable when one thinks of the numerous health benefits of engaging in physical exercise. However, as a sport and exercise psychologist, my research activities has focused on the physical health, emotional, as well as psychosocial well-being of individuals involved in recreational activities, whether on a regular basis or not, as well as those involved in competitive sport. This will be discussed under the following: children and adolescents, college athletes, and then recreational activities. Children and adolescents. Based on the competitive nature of our society and the fact that emphasis is always placed on excellence, children and adolescents have been unduly exposed to an environment that is enmeshed in rivalry, both healthy and unhealthy. And sport is not an exception. Adults more often than not are quick to present their children to the public as being special or exceptional without being mindful of the emotional and psychological effect of such exposure. This prompted me to conduct a study on the effect of audience presence of psychomotor performance of children less than 7 years of age. The results showed a significant difference in the performance of these children in the presence of an audience and in the absence of audience. The results also showed that there is need for caution in exposing children to physical activity performance in the presence of an audience, especially when the children have not fully mastered such skills. In another study, it was discovered that the type of feedback given and the time given the performer to process the feedback before repeating the activity will determine whether or not such performance will improve. This study revealed that junior high school students require ample time to process any feedback given before they are asked to repeat the performance. Physical education teachers and coaches need to take this into consideration while engaging these youths in any physical activity. Ipinmoroti 1998 and 1999. In order to find out the impact of aspiration and anxiety on psychomotor performance of teenagers, the inaugural lecturer conducted a study in 2005. It was discovered that anxiety level as well as aspiration level have significant impact on their performance. A further analysis revealed that the teenagers who had high aspiration level and low anxiety level performed better than those with low aspiration level and high anxiety level. Ajayi and Ipinmoroti 2009 investigated the perceived relationship between sport participation and development of physical, psychological wellness among secondary schools in Ibadan metropolis. The focus of wellness was about stress reduction, mental health, physical health, and physical fitness. The participants perceived very strong relationship between sports participation and their physical, psychological wellness. And now move to the second category of my research work, college athletes. My research interest in tertiary institutions is focused on exploring the psychological environment in which these youth compete and the impact it has on their well-being as well as their success in their chosen sports. Ajayi and Ipinmoroti 1998 studied university athletes' rating of their performance expectancy between game and actual performance outcome after the game during the 1998 Inaugural game. The result of the study showed that winning players' post-game performance outcome rating of their team was higher than those of the losing players. It was also found out that both winning and losing teams were satisfied with the outcome of their games. This could be traced to realistic game expectancy as well as maturity of these university players. It was therefore concluded that athletes will find more satisfaction and less frustration if their competitive performance expectancies are realistic. In another study carried out on post-game attribution dilemma of undergraduate students during Nigerian university games, it was discovered that winning athletes attributed their success to ability and efforts, while losing players attributed their failures to ill luck and lack of ability. Despite the fact that the losing players were less internal in their attribution, they still judged internal factors to be important determinants of game outcome. It was concluded that an understanding of hostile attribution orientation of athletes will guide the coaches to understand how to help both the winning and losing players after a match or tournament to effectively manage success or failure. In 2003, another study was investigated on the effect of significant orders on sports involvement of athletes in Nigerian tertiary institutions. It was discovered that these athletes got involved in sports before they were 12 years of age, and this underscores the need to get these children involved in sports at an early stage. These athletes ranked encouragement for physical education teachers first, from their friends second, from their fathers third, and from their mothers fourth. It was concluded that the influence of parents, friends, and physical education teachers can either have positive or negative effect on the involvement of their children or wards, depending on their disposition. In another study conducted by Ipinmoroti in 2005 to investigate the competitive state anxiety of Nigeria college athletes, it was discovered that both male and female athletes had high anxiety level before the commencement of the competition. And this could be attributed to the fact that it was a national competition, and that was the first time that these athletes were exposed to that high level of competition, and there was no opportunity for being prepared psychologically. That same year, I conducted another study to investigate the effectiveness of specificity of goal as well as goal difficulties as motivational strategies for accurate performance of college physical and health education students. It was discovered that the moderately difficult goal groups as well as highly difficult goal groups perform significantly better than the do your best goal group and the control group. Earlier, Ipinmoroti and Ajayi conducted a study to find out sources of distractibility among Nigerian college athletes and how they cope with such. It was discovered that tough competition, annoying officials, shouting crowds, bad previous attempts, and so on were highlighted as sources of distraction. They also reported that their coping strategies included relaxation techniques, praying to God, psyching themselves up, engaging in vigorous warm-up activities before competition, and so on. In 2011, I conducted another research to investigate whether anxiety direction and intensity will be predictors of burnout among Nigerian athletes. The participants were athletes camped in preparation for the National Sports Festival. It was discovered that athletes in individual sport reported higher level of burnout than athletes in team sport. This may be due to the fact that social factors such as encouragement and cooperation are often associated with team sports. That same 2011, there was also another inquiry to find out why college athletes participate in competitive sports. According to the research, skill development was one of the most important factors of participating in competitive sports. Others include psychological well-being, physical fitness, and social relationship in that order. It was concluded that an understanding of people's motive for involving in physical activity sheds light on individuals' decision process for taking part in sports and physical activity. Determining these motives will assist in planning, promoting, and maintaining people's participation in physical activity. Optimum motivation for participation in and adherence to physical activity is most likely to occur when the providers are able to identify and address the needs of participants. In my research work, attention was also given to how leadership behavior of coaches affected college athletes' performance. Some of the studies were conducted the following findings are prominent. More experienced coaches tend to be more autocratic than their less experienced coaches. The relationship between athletes and their coaches shows a strong social support for coaches. Gender was a significant predictor of training and instruction, as well as a worthy coach leader behavior. Coaches in southwestern Nigeria exhibited a significant level of transformational leadership behavior, which invariably had significant impact on athletes' satisfaction with their performance. I'll now go to the last aspect of my research work, which is recreation activities. Recreation is one term that is often confused with leisure. To many, the two terms are the same thing and can be used interchangeably. It must be pointed out, however, that while leisure refers to non-work free time available to an individual, recreation has to do with what is done during such free time. My research interest in this area focused on participation on and non-participation of adult folks in recreational activities, provision of recreational facilities for the school system, participation motives and factors limiting participation, and well as relationship between job satisfaction, productivity, and participation in recreational activities. There are a lot of reasons people give for either participating or not participating in sports. I encourage us to read it in the inaugural lecture booklet. In a lecture on participation motive and factor limiting participation in recreational fishery among Abeokuta residents, lack of interest was found to be the major factor limiting participation of men and women in Abeokuta in recreational fisheries. Those who took part in recreational fisheries, however, confirmed it gave them loss of pleasure. Another study carried out by Ipinmoroti and Faleke in 2015 on the effect of parental autonomy support and intention of students to be physically active outside school showed that both parents' autonomy support are significant predictors of intention to be physically active outside school. However, the autonomy support of the father was higher than that of the mother. That is understandable. The outcome of this study underscores the need for parents to support their children's desire for participation in physical activities. In another study, Ipinmoroti and Adekoya 2016 carried out a study on effects of trainer social support on the participants of male and female exercisers in a tertiary institution. And it was revealed that social support of trainer is capable of sustaining regular participation of university staff in exercise. Finally, on this aspect, I want to look at our study conducted. This study was conducted by Ipinmoroti and Inaugural in 2011 on the relationship between job satisfaction, productivity, and participation in recreational activity of university workers. It was found out that there were significant differences in both job satisfaction and productivity as a result of participation in recreational activity by both academic and administrative side of a tertiary institution in southwestern Nigeria. The study also revealed that more hours of work significantly affected participation in recreational activity by university staff. It was concluded that participation in recreational activities increased job satisfaction and productivity of university staff. Conclusion. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is puzzling that despite the media hype and lots of research and advocacy about beneficial effect of participating in physical activities, most individuals do not sustain a physically active life. While most individuals are aware of the many benefits that physical activity brings, such knowledge is not sufficient to motivate an active lifestyle. That's the gap that sports and exercise psychology actually strive to fill. Traditionally, physical activity recommendations have been one-size-fits-all prescription based on those response concept that this physical activity goes to health biomarkers and illness prevalence. This, according to SDT, is externally regulated and otherwise referred to as controlled regulation. From the exercise psychology perspective, therefore, involvement in exercise for pleasure is a better strategy to adopt in motivating people to live a physically active life, rather than the traditional method of asking people to be physically active for the sole purpose of fitness and health. Exercise psychologists help individuals to take charge of their motivation so that they are fueled for a lifetime of fitness, meaning well-being and health. If people are to be motivated to make constant decisions that favor self-care and health, it is better and more helpful to make them notice immediate experiential reward, which can be tied to well-being and enhance the areas of life that are most meaningful. Let us not insist on helping people to do it, that is to exercise. Rather, let us help them to help themselves to do it. Let us deliberately inculcate the habit of leading a physically active lifestyle early, that is from cradle, and follow it up while they go to school. Many people desire to exercise. However, the demand to sustain regular physical exercise has kept many away from exercising or made others to drop out after initial attempt. It takes self-determined effort rather than external motivation to sustain a physically active lifestyle. That is sustainable. That is the way to go. That is profitable branding. You cannot really enjoy life in its fullness if you do not engage in regular physical exercise. If you want to live long, engage in physical exercise. If you want to enjoy long life, engage in physical exercise regularly. If you want to sustain a regular physical exercise, consult a sport and exercise psychologist. Recommendation. As a result of the prominence given to physical education during the first and second decades after independence, physical education, both theory and practical, were compulsory for every training in the teacher's college, and because they felt that anybody who is going to teach in primary school to have a skill in physical education. This was followed up by the provision in the second national policy in education that makes physical and health education compulsory up to the junior secondary school level. Our leaders and educator planners then really appreciated the need to build a healthy lifestyle and the wisdom to start early in life. This is no longer the case because physical education in Nigerian school system over the year has gone from grass to grace. It is sad to note that out of ignorance coupled with jealousy and unhealthy rivalry for superiority, many professionals started agitating for a compulsory status of their subjects. According to them, physical education should not be seen as important as all those other subjects and therefore did not deserve a compulsory status. With time, NERDC yielded to the pressure and initially PhD was removed from being compulsory to pre-vocational subject, thereby making it elective. Later, PhD was merged with basic science and technology, thereby making it a subject that once enjoyed 2 or 3 periods per week to now be 1 in 2 weeks, depending on whether the principal likes physical education or not. This is the first disaster. During the golden age of physical education in our school system, school sports was given a pride of play. Every year, Principal Cup was like a sports festival, and it produced many budding athletes then. Unfortunately, sporting activity in our school system have nosedived today. This is the second disaster. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, in view of the foregoing, the following recommendations are made. Instead of the traditional way of introducing participants in physical activity as a means of being physically fit or preventing disease, we should present it as a means of pleasure. Ultimately, participants will eventually notice immediate experiential reward, which can be tied to their well-being and enhance their life in a meaningful way. When regular participation is sustained through this method, the ultimate goal of fitness and health will be attained. There is no way we can say somebody to exercise for fitness when that person has not started at all. So the first thing we are proposing as sports psychologists and exercise psychologists is that let them participate for pleasure. Whether it is low intensity or whatever, let them participate. When they start participating and they start deriving pleasure from it, they will begin to raise their level of participation and the intensity will increase, and at the end of the day, that fitness and health that we all crave for will be achieved. Physical education is an integral part of education, and without it, the education of a child is not complete. In the light of this, both federal and state governments should, as a matter of urgent national importance, bring out a policy that will make the training of physical education teachers in colleges of education, faculties of education, and universities of education a priority. Special bursary or scholarship should be provided for students who choose to study physical and health education in this institution. This will solve the problem of non-availability of trained teachers in many schools in our country today. The truth of the matter is, it is only when you are active and you enjoy life that you can also enjoy your profession. The only thing that every living human being cannot do without is movement. And we talk about moving in an economic way, moving in a way that makes you enjoy yourself and invariably make you healthy so that you can also excel in your profession. That's why physical and health education students should be given scholarships. Provision of adequate space for sports, as well as specified sport facilities, should be made a precondition for approval of establishment of private schools. Physical education should be restored as a standalone subject and made compulsory up to class 3 of junior secondary schools. This is because when children and teenagers get involved in physical activities early in life, they carry such lifestyle into adulthood. It is worthy of note that a physically active adult population is an asset to the nation. Early involvement in physical activity is important. Parents and siblings should therefore provide a conducive atmosphere at home and encourage children to participate in exercise and sports. Proprietors and owners of fitness centers or gymnasia should engage qualified sports and exercise psychology consultants to assist in ensuring that the psychological well-being of exercisers is adequately taken care of in the process of exercise prescription. Sports and exercise psychology consultants are also needed in these fitness centers to attend to emotional and social psychological needs of exercisers. This will help in reducing the high rate of dropout from fitness programs and ensure exercise adherence. For Nigeria to remain consistent in her performance in global sports competition, there is need to pay attention to our sports development. Emphasis should be placed on talent identification and development rather than competition. To this end, state and zonal sport councils should be provided with qualified and adequate personnel who will pursue grassroots sports development with vigor. Our sports council should be taken away from the bureaucracy of civil service structure. There is no way sports will develop if coaches, sports organizers, and sports administrators still operate under the civil service structure. Sports psychology consultants should be involved in all stages of preparation of athletes, right from selection of players, training, and then competition, and then post-competition activities. A situation where sports psychologists are dragged into the team at the point of departure for competition should be jettisoned, as there is not much impact that can make at that particular stage. Acknowledgements. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I acknowledge my father, Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti, of blessed memory, for his love, care, and support, not just concerning my education, but in ensuring I have an all-round development, physical, moral, and spiritual. May he continue resting in the bosom of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm also most grateful to my mother, Mrs. Elizabeth Ipinmoroti Aju, for her sacrifice, especially after the departure of her father. Your commitment to our educational pursuit has really paid off. The Lord will grant you many more years to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Once again, I sincerely appreciate my elder brother, His Royal Majesty, Timothy Adeyemi Ipinmoroti. my first home lesson teacher. I acknowledge publicly today your sacrifice in stepping down for me to go to secondary modern school. When it was not possible to pronounce the two of us at the same time, may the Lord read this lesson. I acknowledge my Uncle High Chief Ogundano of blessed memory for his contribution to my educational development. I want to acknowledge also Pa Joseph Adebayo Akogun and Mrs. Bia Ebofe Akogun for their love and care, and most especially for accepting me as their son. May the Lord continue to bless you abundantly. To all my siblings, the list is really long. Grace, Akinyemi, and the husband, James, and the wife, Olabode, and the wife, Alice, and the husband, Felix, and the wife, and our Oloris, and also Professor Ladele Akokun and the wife, Dr. Victoria Ayodele and the husband, Mrs. Oluwatoyi Ademola and the husband, Mrs. Bolatimi Akun and the husband, Evangelist Adegbenro and the wife, Mrs. Olayemi Robinson and the husband, Mrs. Oluwaloju John and the husband, Mrs. Funke Olalao and the husband, Mrs. Olabisi Olusegun Ojo and the husband, all my nephews and nieces. They are so numerous that I cannot mention them because of lack of time. I want to say a very big thank you for your support and for providing a very conducive atmosphere for me to grow. That is why I am here today. Thank you. I want to appreciate my teachers for the role they played in my school, and specifically my primary one teacher, Mr. Ogumola, Mr. Omomoekiti, for his experience and patience when I had that very shaky start in primary one. He used his maturity to really make sure I did not run away from school. And I want to really I also want to appreciate Mr. Leon, my primary 6 teachers, who devoted time after school, 2 hours every day from Monday to Friday, and 4 hours on Friday to prepare us so that we will pass our primary 6 living certificate exam and also pass our common entrance exam. And he did not collect 1 kobo. I acknowledge today the Reverend Abel Ayodele Udola, my Ekon, who, in addition to teaching us mathematics in modern school, started Scripture Union School Fellowship, where I met the Lord Jesus as my Savior. I cannot forget my mentor and role model, the Right Reverend Mr. Olanrewaju, the retired Lord Bishop of the Joan Diocese, also my Ekon, who taught us history and also coordinated SU Fellowship when the Reverend Ayodele Udola left for further studies. Acknowledge the sacrifice of Elder Tunde Adeshida and the others who traveled several miles then to come and ensure that we were growing in our school fellowship in the modern school then. May the Lord continue to bless you and make you to bear fruits even in your old age. I thank God for the contribution of Mrs. Alice Downsy and Tikemi to my life. You took us as your brothers and not as your in-laws. Every time we bombarded your home at Unity School or then, your love, your care, and your spanking when we misbehave are really appreciated. You are a mother in Israel indeed. I want to appreciate my supervisors. I appreciate my supervisor, Professor Okaku for B.Ed, Professor A.S. Somi for M.Ed, and Professors Adedeji, the doyen of physical education in Africa, for my Ph.D. I would have loved them to be here today, but all of them have crossed to the other side. I have continued to build on the solid foundation you laid in my pursuit for academic excellence. I cannot forget my students, right from the international school, UI, Ibadan, ex-ISA, that's what we call them, where I started my practice as a sports and exercise psychologist. My students from Federal College of Education, Shelley Agokuta, and my students on Taishula National of Education, Ijagun, Ogun State, past and present. Greatest NAFA students! Great! Greatest of the greatest NAFA students! Great! Yes, I appreciate you all. You are part of my success story today. My appreciation also goes to Professor David Adu, a father, a mentor, and a role model. Words cannot adequately express my gratitude to you. You demonstrated parental autonomy support more than a decade before that theory of self-determination theory was propounded. Your life ignited in me the passion for higher studies. May God continue to bless you in the bosom of the Lord, even as you have crossed to the greater glory. I appreciate all members of my extended family. Time will not permit me to begin to mention them one by one. The Ogundanos, the Adus, the Downseas, the Adewoyes, the Adeolas, all of you are seriously appreciated. To the Reverend Canon Professor Olanrewaju Ayilagbe and Professor Olapeju Ayilagbe, what cannot express my appreciation to you? The Lord will continue to bless you richly. I want to express my appreciation also to all members of Bayonelike Neighborhood Association, Kolaba, Ibadan, as well as Obadetono Estate, Old Toll Gate, Lese. You are wonderful neighbors indeed. Thank you very much. To all my colleagues, both academic and non-teaching, that I have interacted with in my various capacities with the discharge of my duties in this university, I say a big thank you. And to my family, the Costate family, you are highly appreciated. Iwájú, àwọn màlọ́, wọ́n ní ẹ̀sìn tó síwájú ó ti gba òfin ní náà. We are always the best. Thank you. I acknowledge my brother and friend, Professor Michael Adeyemi Ajayi, Adeniyi Ajayi, and my sister, Dr. Hannah Olukunmi Ajayi, Ni Aditeru. I cannot thank you enough for your roles in my life, in my career, and family. The Lord will reward you abundantly. I acknowledge the role played by my beloved sister, Professor Oyerunke Otunla and Dr. Layinka Iboare, for preparation of the presentation slides, as well as the editing of this work. You will finish strong in Jesus' name. I appreciate members of the Chapel of the Restoration in National of Ibadan and past chaplains, as well as the current chaplain, ably led by the very Reverend Dr. O.K. Oyelade. I also appreciate the leadership of the Sunday school led by Dr. Layinka Iboare. I appreciate all the Sunday school teachers, all the children in the Chapel of the Restoration, and all the youth. You are all wonderful, and I appreciate you for the support you have given me. God bless you. I recognize the contribution of the following to my research adventure. Professor Richard Ryan from the University of Rochester, USA, who from the first day we met took interest in me, and upon getting to know my interest in self-determination theory, gave me the key that unlocked all information about all the works that have been done in that field across the globe. up to today now, the current study done in this area, I have access to it because it deliberately gave me access to that website, and I have access to everything concerning that work. I also want to acknowledge Professor Robin Billy of Miami University, USA, Professor Daniel Good of Michigan State University, and Professor Guyan C of Institute of Sport, Hong Kong. I want to appreciate the National Chairman of Scripture Union, Nigeria, Professor Matt Lewy, General Director Phillips Adewale Odelano, all National ESCO, National Council members, Pastor Osogbo Regional Chairman, Elder Claudius Ademola Odelola, and Elder Akin Oladele, all SU members in Oyo and Osun states, which constitute the Osogbo region in particular, and the entire Scripture Union in Nigeria in general. The spiritual nourishment I have received through this ministry is enormous, and the opportunity to serve God in various capacities is well appreciated. In fact, and indeed, you are a blessing to me and my family. May the Lord continue to use you all to fulfill His purpose in Jesus' name. To our son, Oluseyi Ipinmoroti the Great, you are a gem. DJ ọmọ òṣòwò ta, ọmọ òjẹ́lẹ́gbọ̀ wá sọ̀lá, ọmọ òṣòwò kìnnì mẹ́fẹ́ wa, ọmọ nígbò olóṣù jẹ́, ọmọ pàtàkì kìí ṣọ̀bí náà lè ní. Ọmọ òsínú lórí ẹrú. Ọmọ òsínú lórí ẹrú, ẹrú bá pọ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ ìdàmẹ́rin. Ọmọ ọ̀pọ̀lọ̀ akọ̀lẹ̀ kọ́lẹ̀ sí mi ogun. You are great. I'm most grateful to God for blessing me with this jewel. My confidant, advisor, manager, counselor, sister, devoted wife, Professor Libet Omowumi Ipinmoroti, ní àkọ́kọ́. Ọmọ àgbà sọ̀rọ̀ mọ́wọ́ sọ̀rọ̀, aṣọ̀rọ̀ bíbọ, ọmọ kùkùdé gbogboora jìgì, ọmọ ẹni ṣe Abíọ́dún ṣe là níyọ̀nà, ọmọ ẹni tẹ́lẹ̀dẹ́ gómìnà tẹ́lẹ̀dẹ́ ọdún alẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ òfẹ́ sí agree. Your unparalleled support and division and devotion provided a conducive environment for my research purpose and ministerial assignment. Your sacrifices and commitment to keeping the faith always keep my heart at peace, and anytime I am away from home, I love you, my precious companion. The Lord will continue to elevate you in all areas of your life. And now to the King eternal, immortal, invisible, the only wise God, the Rose of Sharon.
Mention is a very which includes stress as well as ability to improve self-esteem, improve confidence in one's physical. Third point is a selection of players, training before competition, during competition, and so on. On this note, I want to congratulate Professor Olanrewaju Ipinmoroti for a job well done. Welcome him to Professorial Caucus. Lastly, I want to appreciate all of you that graced this occasion, most especially members of Senate of this great university, the Provost, College of Postgraduate Studies, deans of colleges that are here present, directors of centers, head of departments, both academic and non-teaching, deputy registrars and deputy bursars. I cannot forget to mention His Royal Highness Oba Adeyemi Ipinmoroti, Ipinmoroti. There's no doubt about that, the brother to the presenter of today's inaugural lecture. The presenter is Ojogbon, while the brother, the Kabiyesi, is Omorotu. Thank you, Kabiyesi, for coming. And I want to equally congratulate you today on your birthday. I wish you many happy returns of this glorious day. This is a double celebration, and I wish you many more of it. Yes, I want to also appreciate Professor B.B.A. Taiwo. Incidentally, he was my teacher at the undergraduate level at OU. Prof, you are welcome. Professor O.C. Nwoke, Director Center of Pre-Degree, Osun State University. Dr. Tom Iditule, Dr. Adekulu Adekoya, Dr. Agbola Tio, Dr. Alabi A.A., Dr. Sam Yakubu, Director Civils, Osun State University, Dr. B.A. Ajayi, Ejo General Science, Dr. M. Adetono, Chairman Spiritual Union, Oyo Area, Dr. Victoria Ayodele, Dean Faculty of Social Sciences and Communication Studies, Prof. Giwa Technical, Dr. Elijah Ayodele, Dr. Yinka Ibokare, Brother Phillips Odulano, General Director, Spiritual Union Nigeria, Pastor Adeku Royi. Yes, want to also recognize the presence of Professor Bright Obatola from OU. Welcome. Then Venerable Somi Ajiboye, Yehudas, you are everybody welcome. Thank you very much for coming. And as you are going, I wish you journey masses back to your various destinations. Thank you all. God bless you. Yes, I think we are now at the end of the program. And yes, by the power conferred on me by the Senate of this great university, yes, sorry, there's one thing that we still want to do before the closing of the program. Thank you very much. By the power conferred on me by the Senate of this great university, I declare this ceremony closed. Thank you very much. you very much. God bless you. God bless you.